with our partners here at Miami's community newspapers. My name is Dailen Rodriguez. I'm the chairwoman for Chamber South. It's a pleasure today to join one of my friends from Chamber, who's a longstanding member and a great supporter, Zac Hall. Welcome, Zac.
Thank you, Dailen. It's nice to be here.
How are you? From Minuteman Press at the Falls, right?
That's correct.
Yes.
It's down just north of the Falls Shopping Center.
Thanks
Not
for
in
joining
the mall,
us.
Like, I know that used to be your
Yeah.
turf there. A lot of people think that that's where we are. But
Everyone thinks the Falls Mall, but it's really the
Exactly.
Falls area,
That's
which
why we
is
took
great.
The name was because of the mall. But
That's right. Well, thanks for joining us today.
Well,
It's a pleasure to be speaking with you.
Thanks for having me. It's
Yeah.
good to be
So
here.
tell us a little bit about your business, Zac. I know that you've been in the community for a long time with your business and you pretty much know almost everyone. So tell us a little bit
I don't know
about yourself.
that. There's probably a few other people that that know almost everyone, but I know a bunch of folks who've been in business now almost 20 years. And
Wow.
I've been in the business almost 20 years. The business, I bought my business from someone else who had launched it He tried to launch it in August of 1994, if you remember what happened then.
Yes, I do.
With a little boy named Andrew got in the way, and so it was launched in January of the following year. So,
Wow.
you know, we've been in business for quite a while. Minuteman International has been in business since '78 as a
It's
franchise
definitely
related.
a large brand. Exactly.
They actually started the franchise print business in this country, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah, for the most part, it was they were the pioneers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and we're now the largest print group in the world. Really, it's like 900 and about 1,000 locations worldwide. About 700 of those are here in the States.
Wow.
So-
That's a big footprint.
It is.
Yes,
It
and we
is.
have one right here in our backyard.
That's right.
So tell me a little bit about yourself personally, Zac. Are you
Okay.
homegrown in Miami?
Not Miami. No, I'm close, but no cigars. From grew up in North Alabama.
Okay, pretty
And,
close. Still in
yeah.
the South.
Yep, still in the South. Went to school in North Alabama at the University of North Alabama, and then got a graduate degree at the University of South Carolina
Okay.
in Columbia. And from there, I was in international business, a master's degree in international business that I did there. And from there, I went into working for multinationals for a number of years before I got into the print business. But I've been in a lot of different businesses and industrial chemicals, food, travel, pharmaceuticals. And most recently, I was in the travel business when I came to Miami in 1995 and was in that business for a few years before going to work. Well, basically, I decided to stay. They decided to leave the area.
The company left and you stayed
Yeah.
behind.
Somebody in the marketing department wrote a really unusual press release saying they were relocating their Latin American headquarters to Chicago in order to better serve their Latin American customers.
Wow.
I
Is
didn't
that
understand
person still
that.
there? I
And
mean, that doesn't make any sense.
having endured a number of brutally cold Chicago winters, I said, I'm not leaving.
No,
So
I agree.
decided to take my chances here and got into some consulting work and working with some smaller companies. I actually helped sell a small, actually moderate-sized computer services company that worked all over Latin America.
Okay.
And I was brought on board to help sell it to UPS, which we, for better or worse, we did very successfully. I say possibly for worse. For me, I loved the job, so it was.
That's the hard part,
I
right?
hated being successful at that because I loved the job and worked myself out of a job. And after that, I was looking for something else to do. So, doing some consulting work with a buddy of mine, we had a business that we were trying to launch, and that got literally shot down with 9/11. I mean, almost.
Yeah.
We were in Venezuela trying to get a contract with it, and coming pretty close, or so we thought, with getting a contract with the Venezuelan airlines, and 9/11 just put an end to that. And
Yeah.
everything that we had going was canceled. And they said, by the way, what you've already done, we're not paying for.
Oh, goodness.
So
Almost
we
decimated
started
them.
off, exactly. It puts you in
Yeah.
between a rock and a hard spot, you know, but it took a little while, but in doing that, I came across the printing business, and it's kind of something that's always been of interest to me. And so I was actually consulting for somebody who wanted to work in Latin America with printing franchises.
Okay.
And in the end, they didn't get into that business, but I did. So
And
here
then
we
you
are.
did, exactly. Well, your varied background, I think, helped in understanding, coming from like the corporate culture and understanding how those things are managed, probably helped you tremendously in launching this new business, because you kind of get the big picture with the big clients and the small clients and trying to connect everything.
it's been amazingly helpful.
Yeah, absolutely.
To do that, because worked with a lot of large companies, but particularly in the last business, it was a much relatively smaller company. So you get a better idea of what the issues are for everybody, and having done that makes it a little easier. And you're talking with somebody, and I talk with businesses of all sizes these days. I mean, it could be a one person landscaping business, for example, or it could be a much larger company. We do have several clients that are larger, and everyone has their own unique needs.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So we have to be able to relate to that. So
yeah, that's interesting because you do bring such a varied background, especially with Latin America, and understanding that market and being able to grow it, I think is fantastic, especially going through the last couple of years. I would say probably 10, 15 years ago, that was really booming, and understanding how to kind of maneuver yourself within that industry.
Well, it's amazing how that things have changed, over the last, some people that have been here a lot longer than I have would say that, certainly notice it even more, but it's relatively speaking, when I first moved here, Spanish was a nice thing to know, but now it's I probably have at least 50% of my customers that pick up when I answer the phone, they're speaking Spanish.
It's definitely changed and continues to change.
And that's, fortunately we are multilingual,
Yes. Which helps.
It does. I speak Spanish and Portuguese and a smidgen of English.
Great. I was going to tell you, how did you get around Venezuela? Having to know how to get it there and speak their language.
But I've lived in Latin America a little bit and learned Portuguese in South Carolina.
Wow.
As part of my master's degree. I tell people that I went there to learn it, and they do this double take on South Carolina.
And then you got to practice it, put it in practice. That's the hardest part. Yeah, you're in North Carolina. How do you do that?
We speak a little of all three every day, and sometimes mostly with customers. But,
that's important to have that varied background.
It comes in handy. Lots of times it's one of the things that I think is a benefit of doing business with us is that we're, if somebody has a problem or something, they can always pick up the phone and they can talk to the owner, to the person who has the ultimate responsibility to solve the problem.
That's right.
Or not. And, if you've been in business for any length of time, it's not a matter if you're going to have problems, it's a matter of when and how you're going to deal with
daily,
them.
probably, right?
Exactly. Every single day,
exactly.
Multiple times. And
exactly. And you are a small business. So,
yes.
Chamber South is all about being a small business champion. You've
is.
been a long supporter. Tell me a little bit about how you got involved with Chamber South. And you're also a board member.
I am.
You've been a board member for a while, which we very much appreciate that insight.
I'm glad that y'all had me for as long as you have. I'm currently the longest serving board member. I'm not sure exactly. I think it's like 15 years or so. 16 years.
It's up there,
it's been a while.
Great. Yeah.
But it's been, I've stayed involved because it's been very worthwhile.
Good.
I got involved with Chamber basically looking for two things. One, I needed health insurance since I'd left the company I was at, and I was looking for, I thought, well, maybe the Chamber's got a plan or something. But more importantly, I was looking for information, looking for clients, people that I could target to do a mailing or to visit and so forth. And Chamber promptly sent out a salesperson who came and said, well, if you want this list, you're happy to give it to you, but you got to talk to me first.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's really what Chambers are all about, connectors.
It is connecting. And it was, I've belonged to a bunch of business or several business organizations now and have over the years. And Chamber was really the first one that I got involved with. I don't have any particular figures about how much business has come from each individual one. I don't have that number at my hand, but a lot of my business, most of largest single portion of my business has come from contacts that I've made at Chamber South and the other organizations. So
that's helpful.
I really recommend networking through the business organizations like this. It pays off.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd
and
say
I think
probably
in our
20-30% of my business comes that way.
That's a staggering figure, especially in our new environment, going through, the year that we had and trying to figure out creative new ways, whether they be virtual or just being able to pick up the phone and saying, I haven't gotten a call in a while. What can we do to help?
Right.
And that's really where the resources and the power of those resources and those connections come into play. So being able to kind of quantify that part is significant.
Right.
And same from my experience in just being in a larger corporation and kind of being on the other side of it is just being able to still connect and get our word out. I think is really critical.
It's one of the things when I worked for the larger companies, I had all the connections that I had were mostly through that company. So that's where my business life was.
Exactly.
And a lot of that didn't really connect me back to the communities that I lived in. Some of them were smaller, but I lived in Chicago for a number of years. That's a pretty big place.
Mm-hmm.
So you make your business connections there, and sometimes you live in the same areas where your business colleagues work, but a lot of times, you live in cities that are 20, 30 miles away from one another.
Exactly.
So you don't really, through work, you don't necessarily create those connections with the community. And one of the things that you do a lot with the Chamber South and business organizations is that you make those connections with the people that are in the community in a lot better way than you do when you're working for a large company and you're going to work at the headquarters or whatever, and the people are getting their cars and go home.
That's right.
At the end of the day, they're going to way different areas, totally different communities and so forth.
I think that's the biggest takeaway too, is sometimes, especially with Chamber South being focused on kind of like greater South Dade, is we have a lot of business organizations locally. We have a lot of large ones also kind of more focused on downtown, and the real like financial and business districts. But I think the interesting part about what you said is that especially being in the area like the Falls or in Kendall, there's so many businesses and so many people that are probably closer to home that they enjoy being able to go to a business organization and have friends there. Absolutely. And it becomes something where, you're not only talking about business and how to grow it, but you're also talking about family. Exactly. And maybe the kids are in the same school and it's in the same school district. So I think it kind of extends that and makes it more of a real true connection, that there's no line between, personal and your business life. It's all together.
Yeah. Oh, it is. It definitely is.
Yeah. I value that very much. And I know I've created friendships. I think you were probably one of the first board members that I met way back in 2007 when I got involved with Chamber, which was through my former boss that was very involved.
Yes.
And went to the first gala event, which was inducting the new chairperson. So it's so funny. I was going through just pictures the other day in my home, and I did see that was, we used to take a picture when you came in and everyone was dressed up and ready to go. And it was a Chamber South. So it's a very personal thing too, to be able to say, I've known Zac for this long, and, being able to do business together or just say hello and have a friend that you can connect with.
It's a very important thing. And I'll tell you something else that I find that, being out there at an organization like Chamber South, it gives you a lot of credibility.
Yes.
I don't know. I know I've certain customers that I've had, lots of them, but some of them very specifically said so. They'd see me, and I go to all these different events, and actually in Chamber South, the chairman at the time, Richard, told me that he actually gave me an award. He gave everybody a bunch of awards that year, and I don't know if he just couldn't figure out what to give to me. He gave me an award for going to everything. Because I literally went to every event that Chamber South had that year.
Yeah, and that is really a big point to make, because if you put in what you get out of these organizations.
You don't go. I hear people, when I doing follow-up calls for Chamber, I'll ask people, say, well, they'll say, well, I really didn't get much out of it. I don't think I'm going to renew. And I said, well, how many meetings have you got? Well, I haven't gone to any yet. You've been a member for how long, and you've not gone? Well, of course you're not getting anything out of it.
Exactly.
You're not, you've got to make an effort.
You have to make an effort. Sometimes it's gradual. Sometimes it's, right now, I know when I first joined, it was a little bit overwhelming. Most of the people that had been members or were on boards knew each other for many years. But then slowly you start creating these relationships where it becomes much easier. Exactly.
Build the trust. That's where I was going with that other comment about going to so many things. Is that people say, well, I see you everywhere. And after a while, they say, well, there must be something to this guy, because he's out here all the time and see him all the time. And you make those contacts multiple times. In general, just general marketing rules of thumb, it takes 9 to 15 contacts, touches for somebody to actually take an action on something that you're marketing.
You have to throw a wide net.
Exactly. And you have to be persistent and build that credibility, so people say, well, this person, I can do business with this person because I have confidence in what they're going to recommend that we do.
Exactly.
And that's kind of touches on one of the main reasons why I think people should do business with folks like me, with local businesses, because we really do know what we're doing.
Absolutely.
Otherwise we wouldn't be in business for 20 plus years.
Yes.
But people come to us and they ask for advice about things. Sometimes they don't ask for advice, but they get it anyway.
It comes for free, right?
Well,
you throw it in
part
for free.
of it is, I'd be remiss if I saw something that I thought was not going to work out well for them. It's incumbent on me if I'm making signs, for example, and I know a lot about making signs. If I see something that I think is not going to work for somebody, I ought to tell them about it.
Exactly.
Rather than, so why didn't you say I shouldn't do thus and so? You don't want to ever hear that from people. So, we're trying to do the consultative selling and telling people what their options are so they can make an informed choice.
That is important because I think that you're almost like a second set of eyes. If in the initial industry, and I'm going to kind of switch that over a little bit because I know that printing, what it was 20 years ago, has absolutely changed to now.
Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit more about that, about how it's changed and the new products that are available with Minuteman.
Well, printing used to be offset printing. Large quantities were the best way to go. It was hard to do small quantities. Now it's mostly digital.
Yes.
Unless we still do use offset for the large jobs, but for the most part it's digital. So we can print pretty much the exact quantities that people want and need of a variety of different products. And one of the things that I try to avoid with people is hearing back from this, well, I didn't know you did that. Because that means I've not done a good job of telling them.
Letting them know, of course, which is critical.
We put images on just about everything. If you can imagine it and wanting an image on it, we can help you do that. Whether that's most of the time, and we supply the items. We do a lot of promotional products, wearables. We do shirts, embroidered shirts, screen printed shirts, caps, coats, lab coats. Scrubs, all sorts of things of wearables, and that falls in for us in the promotional products business. But we do our standard ink on paper. Okay. So you need letterhead printed, and we do a lot of letterhead. People still write letters, and they put them in envelopes and mail them.
I think those are products that are never going to go away.
No, I hope not.
Yeah,
we do holiday cards, thank you cards for people. A lot of people don't do that. It's a great product to because not everybody's doing that anymore.
Exactly. So leave your mark, right? It's a nice way to say thank you, and then get it in the mail. It's like, wow, I never used to do this.
That's part of what the marketing and the promotional items are. Just helping you differentiate yourself and give somebody a reason to remember you.
That's right.
And we do that on just literally just about anything. We printed. One time we printed some sails for a model boat that a fellow was making. I mean, it was a fun job.
Wow, that is fun.
It was only 3 or 4 pieces, but we got a chance to do some of that sort of thing, as well as doing the larger runs of multiple thousands of postcards. And that's one thing that we do a lot of for direct mail, where we people bring us their list, or we get their list for them. We source the list. We design and print their mail piece, whether it's a postcard or a letter. We do every door direct mail, which everybody knows. They sometimes don't know what it's called, but everybody gets them in the mail.
They do. And I think people do pay attention, especially as, everyone wants to say it's all digital, but I don't necessarily agree. I think people are like, it's almost like getting a gift. Well, you go out there and you just want to see what's there.
You need to touch people in the way they want to be touched.
That's
you need
right.
to reach them the way to be reached. And these days it's a lot of different ways. And that's print. It's email, it's the social media, but it's not just one of those, it's all of them. And one of the things, email marketing, I do email marketing,
which is great.
Everybody does.
Everything. But so you're full consultancy.
Well, sure. Well, I generally the email marketing I do is for me.
Okay.
Most people they're going to do their own email marketing because why do they want to pay me to do that? They may pay me to design something for them. We do that for people, but to actually do the marketing, a lot of them, they've got their own list and so forth, and that's fine. But what I'm saying is that the important thing is to combine that email marketing or electronic marketing with print. Because one thing that happens with emails, the fastest thing to happen to an email is delete.
Or not pay attention or go on to something else.
You lose it. How many times you call somebody up and say, can you send me that email again? I can't find it because it's 16 feet down in my email. And the printed mail that people get in their mailboxes, they do look at. they pay attention, and the studies will tell you that it gets better response.
It does. And it needs to be a comprehensive program.
Exactly.
I think that's the biggest takeaway.
But one reinforces the other, which is what it comes down to. So you need to be reaching out to people and however they want to be reached. And you need to do it with a convincing message. And, those are some of the things that we provide.
Yeah. Pretty much top to bottom, anything printing and digital related, and pretty much communication and marketing.
It's marketing. What we don't describe ourselves as printers so much anymore. We're marketing service providers, because we do print. We help create campaigns, with whether it's a mailing campaign. We did fundraisers for some large nonprofit organizations. One of those we did about a year ago, not quite a year ago. That was a very involved project for about 40,000 pieces, and that involved a Spanish language version of the English going to different people that they determined, and they provided their own list, but they had very specific information, some of it confidential information, that was going to individual pieces. So we did video matching to make sure that the piece that belonged, that was going to Dailen Rodriguez got to her, with her name, not with Zac Hall's information.
And that's
that would have been a
critical.
disaster. But so we did video matching of that to make sure that the right piece was going into the right envelope for that. Adds to the cost of it, but it's effective because they continue to mail.
Yes. I think that's the biggest thing. And I love that, being able to speak with someone on the phone, because when you have a problem and you can't get a hold of the one person that you need to speak with at that moment to at least tell you, I'm on it, exactly, I'm going to find a resolution, is very frustrating. And I think, and I would love to hear if you have a number of how many of those clients really are the ones that do prefer to have, come in and look at it on screen with you and kind of give you guidance, and you kind of work with them through the process, because I think there's so many people that still want that that one-on-one connection.
Well, we do a lot of that, and people, I think they appreciate it. I hope they do. They keep coming back and asking us to do it.
You've been in business 20 years, so I'm sure you're doing something right?
We do, people, basically, we want to understand their project. That's how the basic thing to start is. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? Because sometimes they start out wanting to do this project this way, and we wound up moving a totally different way, because I said, well, if it were me, I think I would spend my money this way, because I think it's going to be more cost effective for you, or we'll find something in the mail piece or the artwork that sometimes the people say, just print it. I said, well, we're going to send you a proof anyway.
Exactly.
And how many times have I had people calling back? So I'm so glad that you sent us that proof. I found something. I've had people find their phone numbers to be wrong, or their email address was changed and they didn't catch it.
I'm sure you drive around and you see things in your inbox that you're just like, how did this ever go out?
Yeah, well,
and it's startling to me to see how people still miss things.
No, they do. It's a lot of times that your own information is the hardest to review, because you assume it's right. It's been the same thing for.
This for me.
Exactly, and that's one thing that we do a lot of, and most of the times our customers don't even know it. But we've found sometimes we don't proofread their product. They give us something they want it mailed. That's what we're going to do. We don't sit there and read their book, for example. I've had people that we print books for ask me, how'd you like the book? So, well, it looks interesting, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Haven't gotten there yet. I'll get there.
That's not part of what we do. But
there.
A lot of times in just looking at something, we find errors in it. And we had somebody just the other day that sent us, 8 or 10 items that they wanted us to print immediately. And they didn't give us nearly enough information in order to properly print it or know what they wanted to print. So, but in looking at it to contact them, we noticed on like half of them, there were errors.
Wow.
Address in the wrong place, grammatical errors, and of course we always tell them about that.
Yeah, check it.
We don't just fix it, because, we've had somebody writes a book, for example, maybe they intended to write something that's not grammatically correct.
That's right.
Whatever. We never know. And that's not our decision. So, but we point it out and call it to their attention, and they change it if they want to.
I'm sure they appreciate it.
Hopefully.
So Zac, tell me, as we close out our session, which I could be talking to you for hours, I'm sure, because I find it fascinating how the industry has changed. Tell me, if I was an entrepreneur today, starting out, whatever the business may be, or maybe even in your industry, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them?
Well, there's so many pieces of advice that you need. It's hard to say
true.
one, and I could steal from yesterday's chamber.
That's right. Lunch with leaders. We had an excellent session.
Well, that's one thing that I mean, that was a women's panel in celebration of women's Women in History Month, and which is totally appropriate. And everybody has their own challenges. But I was thinking through the whole thing. I said, I bet you there are people that didn't attend this because, well, it's a women's thing. I'm a man. You want to be in business, listen to what they have to say. And maybe that's the thing that I could, I know Shannon, I believe, said that just start was her. Just
Shannon
start.
Allen, get it started.
Shannon Allen said that, just start. Well, I think that's a good thing. If your gut's telling you to do it, give it a shot, but also pay attention to people who've gone before you. Don't be afraid to ask the questions.
That's right.
Because that's probably the best thing you can do is ask somebody. Maybe you're going to find somebody that's been there and done that sort of thing before, but maybe they haven't owned a printing business, or maybe they haven't managed a mall or something, but they've been in business and they've seen the kinds of things that you run into, and they can give you direction on what to do when you reach those stumbling blocks.
Ask questions. I think that's very important to say.
Don't be too proud to think, you don't think you're going to show a weakness by asking somebody a question. I know there's an old quote for Thomas Edison about you failed to inventing the light bulb 10,000 times. And he says, no, I learned 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
That's right.
And you learn something every time, no matter, if it doesn't work out, well, you learn, okay, that's the way not to do it.
Keep going. You get up and do it again.
Exactly. And
that's right.
You just keep on keeping on.
That's right.
So
thank you, Zac. This was wonderful.
That was my pleasure.
I think really a lot of great takeaways.
Here.
I'd love to hear about Minuteman at the Falls. I think it's definitely a neighborhood business.
It is.
Homegrown and someone that's here to help you, someone that is an expert in your field and is able to lend a lot of support for everything related to digital and marketing services overall. As we've mentioned, it's pretty much a one-stop shop for everything related to your marketing needs. So make sure to visit Zac, and thank you again. It was wonderful to speak with you today.
That's my pleasure.
Thank you everyone for joining us again for Chamber South's Spotlight this week with our partners at Miami's community newspapers.